All right, girls, get up. Y'all know what that means. There's money upstairs. Come on. Let's go. Let's get it. Big money.
Live from the grid. On the floor with Cho, on the floor with Cho. We gon' talk about it all on the floor with Cho. On the floor with Cho, on the floor with Cho. We gon' leave it all on the floor with Cho. On the floor with Cho, on the floor with Cho. We gon' talk about it all on the floor with Cho. On the floor with Cho, on the floor with Cho. We gon' leave it all on the floor with Cho. Yo, it's the biggest voice on the low. We on the floor with the Cho. Hey, man, y'all see us. We working. We got us going on. We on the momentum. We got big Neon Jesus in the building.
Man, it's cool to be here, bro.
Man, say, I appreciate you, big dog. Like, on some for real shit. Like, I know I've been reaching out, and you been busy. You been knocking out everything you knocking out. You made time for me, and I appreciate you, big dog, for real.
Oh, man, it's love.
Always, man. Say, for the folks that don't know about you, tell them a little bit about yourself. Where you from, how you coming, what you got going. Let's tell them.
Well, I'm a Texas boy. I was like born in Longview. And
Okay.
then, my daddy's a preacher. My grandfather was a preacher.
Whoa.
We moved a lot. I ain't got to tell you like the whole life story. And then carries me to like when I came to Dallas, I have a neon business, like making signs. And then, it's my dream changed. I was like in some art galleries. Then I'm like wanted to do music videos. Like I was bumping Lil Wayne in Arkansas, like big.
So you was making signs. How did you? All right, let's slow down. Hold on now. You was PK. You a PK. Shout out to all the PKs. And we good solid foundation. So you went from that. How did you make a sign? Was you a crafty kid, or was you like? How did that come about? Like,
man, really, like I'm really. I always say like I'm humble, but I'm really, really creative. So
okay.
As a kid, I was always drawn.
Okay, big.
But that wasn't anything like my dad. I got sisters. They sing.
Okay.
They'd always put me in front of the church. I'd always be singing.
For sure.
Well, my dad, he'd be on the road, so I'd be selling his tapes. Always talking with people. Didn't really grow up with roots in the sense of always like being in the same school.
Yeah.
But I was always like having to be outgoing. So then as I get older, I had I was in the military, and then from that, I ended up having fashion stores. So I was like 3 stores, a couple franchises, a divorce later, and then I really was fascinated by the sign business. And so
with the signs, like what? I'm trying to figure out like the signs you were putting neon lights behind. Like, how did they even come about? What did you be like, man? This one I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do signs.
Well, it was like I want to do signs, and I actually had a friend that was like, he was like, hey man, I told you I was at that divorce, so I was like going through divorce, and then so I shut all my other businesses down, and he said, man, would you want? Signs is expensive, meaning like the whole time. I remember dropping 10 grand on signs for one of my locations, and so there was like neon like this. It was something I was always kind of drawn to. So he was just like, hey, do you want to come work in my business? And so like I'm working for this dude. And the funny story was like, so he puts on the business card, production manager, which means I'm the one responsible for producing.
Yeah.
But I'm getting a lot of experience. But this dude's really like a white collar, he's slick.
Yeah.
So he's over there like, when I met him, he's like, got a big house. He's got the Escalade, Mercedes thing. And I'm looking like, man, because when you're a sign business, nobody really thinks about nothing.
No, for sure.
But at the time, I'm like, you made all this off of signs? Like, he's got the pull out back with the statues. And I'm thinking, sign business looks cool to me. Yeah.
Type
so
shit, not for real.
I'm working with him with the sign business. And then also I'm good at sales. So he's really like kind of teaching me how to make stuff. Although I have a natural ability to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
But then he's like bringing me on the side with the sales. So I'm sitting there watching this dude close $20,000, $50,000 deals, gaining some real life experiences, but he would never want to finish the work. So literally he's like, pulling in 50, 60,000 in a month, but he's not completing the work. It's just me and him. And so I'm like, I'm kind of there like, man, we need to do this work. And then he's turning around telling people like, well, my production manager, so real quick, that thing fell apart. Then I'm like staying over there, like, his house is getting shot up. His car got dropped in the lake.
Oh shit.
So at that time I thought it's time to, maybe time for me to move out. But I really like 6 months I had a foundation in the signs. So I remember this was like my introduction into the sign. Like, this is funny. So it's like I didn't have much money, and I'm like in this town. So I go drive to Lowe's. I bought a tape measure, and I drove down. I'm like cold call, went into this place called Mi Tienda. It's a grocery store, and I'm like, hey, I do neon. I've like been doing this and this. They were like, yeah, they were actually interested in a bid. So I'm glad, because the tape measure, I was like thinking like, man, this is so expensive. Like, seriously, I was like that. So I go up there, I measure and everything. I come back, I'm like, it's going to be $17,000, And so I needed 50% down, and they were excited about it, and they wrote me a check.
You beat the biz, man.
So then I went. Obviously, I was probably cheaper.
No, for sure.
But I was like, so I got an adrenaline rush, and then I drove over to the guy with the neon, and I'm like explaining, like, man, I know that you work with this guy. I was like, but this is what's going on, and so even if I gave him the money, he's not even going to do right by these people. And so I'm like, I can pay you. You want to? So this guy, we did that first job. He bent the glass. I mean, it's a whole lot of struggle, but like 13 years later, I still have customers from back in that time. And so, but with that, it grew. Then I ended up, getting my own property, get my own shop. I do metal work, so it's like channel letters, every kind. Like,
so where did you learn it at? The metal work, and like, where did you like?
I mean, a lot of it's just like really.
Is that like welding or some shit? Like,
I'm a welder.
Yeah.
Like, but really, it was kind of like self-taught, meaning like, even with the glass. So at that point later on, that's where I was really interested, was the neon. But no one can stop you. If you got equipment, no one can stop you from practicing.
Goddamn right.
So at the time, come to find out, that neon guy was overcharging me. And so I told him one day, I was like, man, you're charging me this a foot, but then come to find out this is what this costs. He was like, well, what other option do you got? And I was like, oh, okay, bet. So then, being that prior to that, I was in Dallas, I hit up this company that's a supplier. I said, hey, man, I'm looking for a neon bender in Dallas. Ended up meeting, this Mexican guys, cool. His name's Victor. He's not even doing it anymore. But I came down, so I was like getting normal prices. And then I was like, man, I really would like to do this. So he started actually, like, I started paying him, and he would start giving me classes. And then he was like, he said that long time, he's like, neon. By then I was brown, I wasn't neon yet. He was like, no one could stop you from practicing. If you get this far, if you get this far, if you get this. So I started working, and I pieced together equipment. Then I'd take it back to Arkansas. And so it was like, I'm piecing all that together. And then he's really like always answering the phone. But now my business is growing. The original dude, the one that was overcharging me, that said, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Because see, the thing is whoever controls the sales controls the money, controls the business.
For sure.
So then he comes back like, hey, I was just going to let you know, I'll give you better prices. And, we can work together. And I said, bro, man, I'm over all that, man.
Yeah.
Like, I had to struggle, but I'm cool with what I got now.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe that was pride. Maybe I should have.
No, it's just crazy how life works, and that's how life needs to teach some people, So it's cool.
He ends up actually quitting doing the neon, and then goes over to like making channel letters and working with LED. So that was just that process back then. So I kept growing that business, tied in with some really good customers, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, for sure.
They got really, like, even now that I'm doing all this other bigger stuff. Like I'm looking at heading to Oklahoma maybe like next weekend, and go service some of those restaurants I was telling you about.
Yeah, for sure.
So I still do.
And those restaurants are with the Mexican kid, right?
Yeah. So I got a client. He lives in San Luis Potosí, Mexico, and then he's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
He's really amazing. He's got
how many restaurants you said he got in America?
Got
how
like
many?
40 of them.
Come on,
you
man.
got to think like. And everything keeps growing. And then he's got like 2 tequila companies. So they're importing tequila. And then he's got like the food distribution company where they distribute like the food.
And that's just one client.
Yeah, that's one client.
That's just one client, people.
But I mean, I work for a lot of different cool people,
for sure.
man. Like even,
sure.
Like if you're like saying, I don't really name drop, but even if you're talking about like outside of the entertainment, within like the fashion industry, I got a client here in Dallas that he's got a whole weed company.
Yeah.
I think he's worth like $10 million.
Yeah.
And so that's opened up a lot of doors then from like, but very humble, meaning like I start out, it would be like a pawn shop to whatever. Like I remember from, if you're working with one person that don't pay you, and there's like kind of a con guy. Then you turn around, and then I got a whole business where people are buying it, and I'm like, even if you don't got money, you pay me every week, we're good. So then I'm riding around like old school with my book, collecting, and maybe some weeks they were like, we can't do it, but here's $50, and are you hungry?
Yeah.
And so all that, like back when I was really down, I have a big love for Hispanic people because one, we know Hispanic people work hard, but they take care of their own. Meaning at that time, I always ate. As I was growing further along, then it was like opened up with my bigger client, and then that turned into ended up paying off a house, getting other properties, and it was like really the big thing that even to this day, like I said, they're always like, I got a call from Noel the other day, and he was like, "Man, Wedo, you're gonna be famous now. You're not gonna work for me no more." And I'm like, "No, man, I always got you.
No fool, I got you.
Like I always got you." And so obviously I can't work for everybody.
Yeah.
But I got that heart, bro. Like I had to learn, like, I'd cut off my arm to save yours.
Goddamn right.
And so
that's big.
That's kind of how everything went to where all my energy was gone. But through that, man, if you really are moving right, like people, a lot of young people be like, work smarter, not harder, which is true.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you got to start.
So do you have a team when you do all this? Is it just you that make the signs, or like?
I mean, now it's more of a team. So
okay, big.
And then we're in a transition right now.
Okay, big.
So it's like, the other thing that's cool was like, even if you weren't that smart and you're working, you get to a certain point to where it attracts people to your business. So if you're out there and you're doing a business and you got people, you need to spend money on this, you need to do this, and maybe you ain't got it yet, but you're still grinding. Keep grinding, because if you get big enough, people will notice you, and they're gonna want to come in and help. So,
and who out to notice you, Neon? Don't let them sleep on you. Who are? It's some major people in this industry, the entertainment people that didn't notice this man all out what he done started with, not even getting paid, getting fucked over. He done grew it into a bigger what it is now. Tell them who out you been fucking with. They want to come fuck with you. Tell me.
Like right now, I'd say like with because it all goes different stuff, like different times in your life. So we went from Neon, went from Sign Company, still retained that, to making neon art. Like art was something that came along. I had an opportunity there and did a whole gallery thing. And so I got to even set up my art. There's a place called Crystal Bridges.
For sure.
Museum of American Art. So that's with Walmart. What Alice Walton owns that. Okay. That was something cool that to me was like, okay, that's kind of like validation.
So you actually paint? Do you do the paint thing?
No.
Or
in fact, I know it's crazy because like with street guys, like even with the clients now, as everything grows, like neon's an art, meaning like to bend that, you can make artistic, you could draw, you could turn that into art. It can be in galleries. For sure. And so, but to a lot, that's the white boy that does the lights. So, and you can be with someone that's a millionaire, and that's to them, they're not thinking about the artistry behind it, which is cool. It just is what it is. Yeah. And so doing that, and then, like I said, I was there, and then it came along to where I wanted to get into there was a book I read. Who's the guy? The Shark Tank, Fubu.
The black dude.
I don't remember his name, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Damn. So, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I read his book, and in his book, it was talking about back in the day, he's doing these clothes, and he got it placed. He got LL Cool J to wear one of his shirts. I was already like, man, like when it comes to like rap, hip hop, however you call it, my first tape I ever found was like Heavy D and the Boys. Yeah. And then it went to, remember the Pump Center? You don't remember?
Nah, I don't know. I'm not the
this is like beginning or for me. So then it was like Pumps and a Bump, Pumps and a Bump. We like the girls with the Pumps and a Bump. I must have been a boy.
What was your parents thinking of that? Like you said, you was a PK. Your granddaddy, your dad. What was they like? Like, why is my son?
I mean, really on the stuff, it's like you get disciplined really hard. So it's kind of one of them things where you're kind of like two people, really. Because at that age, you got a disciplinarian. They're pushing you a certain way. But then, like, really in the 80s, stuff was confusing. Meaning, like, Christians in the 80s, bro, like Baptists, they're there in the 80s. They're wearing suits. They got their hair thing. They're not talking about doing wrong. Yeah, for sure. You think they're perfect. Yeah. Like, even, so here I am, 15. and I wanted to do hood bad things with my friends.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to do bad stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm even like talking to Jesus, like, Jesus, I ain't like these people.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause
What was he saying back? What was he saying in the heart? Like, man, just keep doing
you know,
what
so
was it?
I just didn't understand it. Later
Yeah.
on, I figured it out. Like, really, nobody's perfect. So I always say like this, like, you know, if you're a Christian and you don't make people aware, like, you know, it'll make a whole lot of people turn off. And if anything, you just want to keep it real. So
Keep
like,
it
no matter
real.
what you're doing, the one thing about me is I'm real. Like, even, you know, I got this poly relationship going, and so people were like, oh, how could you be a Christian? How could you be a Christian, you know, when you have multiple women in your lives? And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, if you really want to get down to it, King Solomon in the Bible, he had 700 wives and 300 concubines, right?
Yep.
But it also said God didn't approve.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still written in there because he kept it real.
Keep it real.
So even regardless, he's like, I love God. This is what I'm doing. Like, you know, you don't got to go take a bath to take a shower.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to come as you are.
Come as you are.
And so it's a learning thing. You know, I've been married twice.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried monogamy.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the people don't respect Christians when they're like this. Like, so let's say you like put the suit on and you go to church and you got your wife and 2 kids. And, you know, then you're like, oh, man, look at that homeless dude. He needs to get off drugs. Like, oh, man, that's a drunk. Oh, you need to stop that. You know,
Mhm.
oh, man, what you got your head on backwards? Like, man, why ain't you like Colin Powell?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And then turns out that dude was banging his neighbor. And then everything comes to light. And then they're like, oh, that's a hypocrite.
Hypocrite.
So the thing that I always say is like,
Keep it real.
hey, if you want to, you want to get on me, like, I love God, I keep it real. And so even at the end of the day, if you don't agree, you can still respect the real.
No, because you know what, people? God bless Moses. And Moses did some stuff before he became to the man he was. He was a murderer, was he not?
Yeah, I mean, he really was. And the whole thing is like on this process, I can definitely say, because if you look at me, like in my background, like even my own dad, one day he finally, because you got to imagine when you ask about what my parents
No,
think.
for sure.
So then I'm down in Dallas, and then you know, then I'm like down in Atlanta. I got the chance I'm working with Boosie, and so and it was more than just a job. Meaning like then I come back, then I'm staying over there, then I'm down in Houston with Sauce Walker.
Sounds welcome.
So you know, and I'm proud of what I'm doing. Like
Yeah.
you know, to me, you know, Mo3's my favorite artist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't say that I was listening to Boosie back in the day, but I always knew who he was. But
Yeah.
then when him and Mo3 started working together, that was really when I'm like, oh man, I love it. And then the
for
fact
sure.
I never even thought that my road would put me there with him.
But tell these folks, all right, you said, you even told me, what's up, love? Here go Miss Sparkle. Here go Miss Sparkle, y'all. Y'all know what's going on. This one of his wives.
This right here, I want to tell y'all, like,
Let 'em
this
know.
girl, like, she done seen the vision before it started. Like, whenever someone
Solid.
says, like, hey, I'm going to be with you till the wheels fall off, she ain't having that. I'm going to be with you till we're in upgrade to the jet.
Goddamn right.
And so I'm so proud that she's even here today with me. Because, like, for real, day one, like, solid. A lot of y'all already know her. If you don't, you know, you missing out.
You finna find out.
For
You
real,
finna
she got her own motion going on her own.
Mhm.
But together with everything that we got going, like, I love this girl for real.
Nah, for sure. That's dope. That's dope. Miss Sparkle, look at her. Love, people. Love. That's what we doing on here. On the floor. Love.
Some business. Okay.
Okay. Don't
I'll see
make
y'all
your
later.
dollars. You know what you're doing. Stay busy. Stay booking busy. Go ahead, do your thing, baby. So with that, how was it like you built personal relationships with Boots? Like you even said, South Walker, you was on this man's couch. So how did them
Yeah,
relationships come
really,
about?
like I think a lot of people's like, you know, too fancy,
Yeah.
or they think higher. Like I said, I'm very simple and humble.
Mhm.
So like, really, it was like Boosie came 1st,
Mhm.
and I'd always say that's like to this day, like that's my big break.
For sure.
You know, that really like I came to Dallas. I was wanting to get into entertainment
Mhm.
with my art
Mhm.
by building sets, and you know, even with that, it started exploring to where it was bigger than Neon.
Yeah,
But I was with a TV production company for 2 years,
for sure.
and then they ended up doing this thing called Boosie Gone Bad.
Mm.
And so it was, you know, they spent a lot of money. I think that production was like over $200,000
Mm.
they spent.
Mm-hmm.
So which was going to be on live. It was like Boosie, I think it was like with 80 women You know, I think they had that viral moment.
Yeah.
To where they had the magnifying glass. And you remember that?
Boy.
But here I am. So at that time,
Yeah,
like I'd
for
already
sure.
done all these lights, but when they were bringing me to that, they were like, hey, we want you to go. But I was really solid for them. Meaning like for that company, I was always solid. I always did everything they asked. I slept on the floor over there. Like I came from Arkansas. I'd crash over there. That's where I met my brother, Space Boy Fresh.
Space boy.
You know, I always got a lot of love for him.
Nah, for sure,
And
he dope.
You know, yeah, I mean, really genuine. So by the time it came about, I wasn't even, like, I never expected to be invited to anything. Like, I was never one that's like, oh man, you know, I just did what I could all the time. In fact, when that Boosie thing came up, I'd had like 2 weeks before, I had a blood clot taken out. You know, and they had to pull it out of my neck. Like I was over doing a video, and I about passed out on the on the side, yeah, for real. And so I was recovering, but then the studio owner called me, and he's like, "Hey, I really need you, bro. I really need you." And so I'm like, "Okay." Now this has nothing to do with my lights. I'm like, "So what do you need?" He goes, "Man, I need you to drive the U-Haul truck because they got to have all the gear down there." So I'm like, "All right, you know." I don't know if I didn't feel a type of way about it, but at the end of the day, I was like, I'm going to do it. Like I always said, I was always one that I want to add value with whoever I'm around. And then regardless of what, some things is like, if you're in a situation, you could work 20 times harder, but you're still getting movement on your own dreams. And so, and it's always really like the teamwork is what moves something forward.
For sure.
You'll get in rooms and situations you never were, you know, on your own. So anyways, down at Boosie's house, we're down there like 3 days. And so, and I told you I was like not even feeling that good. So I'm just kind of just standing around there, taking everything in. Like, turns out people thought I was real important. Everybody else is like working, and I'm just kind of like, you know, sliding around watching everything, really still recovering. But it was like the last day. So we're putting everything up, and now we got to leave. And it occurred to me, I thought in my mind, even like, man, I hope maybe I could show Boosie what I do. Like I'm all the way here. Like I've been wanting this hip hop, you know, I've been wanting this for myself. I'm like, and I'm right here, man. If I can't even pull this off, then I need to just probably go back and make signs. Like you don't get no greater than being around a legend. And I remember praying, bro. I was like over at the hotel. I was like, God, man, please open the door. If something don't happen, like I don't even know. I need to give this up because, you know, you pay a lot of dues. You have to go a lot of time with no money. To where you're making a little bit of money and you got to be consistent. So I remember, bro, like I'm carrying the chairs, like we're all supposed to go outside. And I said, wait a minute, you know, his dining room chairs ain't there. So I'm like, I'm gonna go get them. I know where they're at. So there's like 6 chairs. And so I'm grabbing each chair and I'm going up the stairs. He's in the living room. He's got his whole crew there. You know, I'm looking, I'm kind of walking slow. I'm thinking like, I'm getting my courage up. Like, you know, how am I
Talk to yourself. How I'm finna approach him. How I'm finna do it.
Because I know the work's fire. I know if I can show them the work. But a lot of stuff's about timing. So really? We get about three chairs, 4 chairs. Now it's the 5th one. I seen him stop. I'm like, okay, that's the movement. So I said, hey, Mr. Boosie. I said, I'm Neon. He says, hold up, bro. I got to get on live. So like, okay. So I go put the chair up. Then I put the last one up, and then I was like, take the trash
You
out.
at the Boosie estate now. You in Atlanta.
In the house.
The big house.
The first time.
Where they throw the pool parties at.
So then I'm like, okay, it's the last. Now this is it. We're about to go.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
all the chairs is up.
For sure.
And I go out in the garage. This was like the best. So I'm in the garage. Like there was dude, his name's Trap.
Yeah.
And Trap was like, hey man, I've been wondering, what do you do, bro?
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh. So I pulled out my Instagram. I'm showing him. He's like, bro, you hard, bro. He was like, man, you should make something. You should make something and give it. Like, Boosie gonna love this. He's like, you should make something for him. And I said, man, honestly, you know, the stuff I do can get expensive. I said, and knowing that right now, I guarantee I'm gonna come back. It might even be in a year, but I'll pull back up, especially tell me I can pull back up. I was like, but you know what would be real cool? If you could put me in front of him so I could show him and maybe we could get on some business.
Nah, for sure.
You know, and I've said, and if you look out for me, bro, I'll look out for you. Like I'll toss you some money.
Goddamn
and he was like, you want to talk to Boosie? I was like, yeah. He was like, come on.
Yeah.
So now we walk back in the living room with his guy, and then he's whispering in his ear. So then he actually stopped what he was doing, and he was like, so what do you do? So now I'm like, you know, and I'd already kind of prepped, like I was wanting to have this moment.
Yeah, you already had your
And then you don't even know how it's even going to go, but it's like I'm showing him the stuff. Now, at that time, he was getting ready for his pool party.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting ready for a lot of people at his house.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, man, you could actually do that. You know, for me, you could do the pool, you could do this. Man, he said, he was like, you know, this is hard. You want to work for Boosie.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, I'd love to. Like everything you'd want to hear, you know.
Came like right
Yeah,
there.
I'm like, yeah, yes, sir. I'm a man. You can see, like, I ain't even trying to, like, I'm only a Boosie fan when I leave the States. When I'm here, I'm gonna be the hardest worker around. Like,
No, for sure. For sure.
you know. And so he was like, okay. He was like, you gonna start today, right now? And he goes, you know, if you do, I'm gonna go upstairs and get you a bankroll. And so, but I was like, I said, man, honestly, I'm a professional. I came with these guys. We're all leaving. I was like, so I'm going to need to ride with them, but I'll pull back up in a week. I said, and I bet you anyways, you're going to have that bankroll. You're going to have more bankrolls.
Goddamn right.
Like, you know, it's Boosie.
Goddamn
So
right.
left and then, you know, came back in a week. I showed back up.
And what all work did he have you do? Like,
Man, I mean, it was like, the one thing is like everybody grows up different. The time when I was a kid, my dad, he was always like real hard on me. Like he had me painting houses at 12.
oh man.
He had me like stacking bricks.
No, for
He had
sure.
me doing, so the things that I can do, I'm really good with my hands. I'm really good with my mind. I could always solve any problem. So I'm there for Neon. So for the Neon stuff, ended up lighting up above his bathroom. It says "The world is mine." You know, Black Tony. You know, like Scarface type
goddamn
stuff,
right. Goddamn right.
which is cool. Then above his bed, God is everything, and that goes. You know, he's got that bed that's like 4 king size beds.
The bitch wide the
It's
motherfucker,
wide.
man.
So it was like that. Then he's got that treehouse out back.
yeah.
So I did border on that. Then I got to do the infamous, you know, the Boosie Estate sign.
It's
So
hard,
I got
bro.
to light that up. And really, that was really like between the time I left and came back, I was probably there a month. But then you got to realize it's like, you know, he's been able to take, and this is just like, I can't ever speak for him or anything, just from like the stuff probably that everybody knows or just from my point of view, meaning like, you know, he's a legend in the rap game.
Man, I've been listening to Boo, youngest of the camp, Boo. When you see this, I've been a fan since youngest of the camp. I'm to my baby. You about 14, 15, nigga. We were vibing.
But if
I know about it.
But if you get the chance ever
Yeah.
to be around someone like that, it's a
Nah, for sure.
it's a privilege.
I know it, brother.
Everything shouldn't be about money.
It
And
ain't.
like it's a privilege. Like
Yeah.
my whole life, even to what I'm doing now, I could definitely say like, man, Boosie made a big impact. I never seen anybody drip like that up close. I never seen anybody with that kind of lifestyle.
No, for
I never
sure.
seen anybody that has a good heart, takes care of so many people.
No, for
I
sure.
mean, he's a family man.
He is.
And then so like you know, when people have in their head like, oh man, did you get to kick it? Did you get to party with? I'm like, man, that dude loves his kids. He loves his little yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He loves his team.
Yeah.
If he's even having you around, what are you bringing to the table?
Gotta bring something to
Like
the table.
he ain't having you around because he wants somebody to smoke with him. He ain't
Yeah.
bringing you around because he want to kick it.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you bringing to the table? So even if the door opens off lights, like I was there, like my brain was more on like, man, even for the money I made on the first time, and then I even got to come back.
Yeah.
When I came back, I brought him a feature.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows Bumpy Johnson.
Yeah.
So that's how,
Hot right now.
yeah, Bumpy
He hot right
Johnson
now.
at that time, which he's a brother.
Yeah.
And so he, you know, he threw down the 20 bands,
Mm-hmm.
walked him in. He got the feature, shot the video. That put him, really kind of put him on
On the platform
the
he on right now.
platform. Then when
Nah,
he came
for sure.
back,
For sure.
then, he signed with Rainwater.
Rainwater, he making some noise. Y'all check out Bumpy Johnson, man, for real, for real.
Yeah, so now here I come. I took money, and now I'm all right. Here's you 20 bands, you know.
Man.
And so between that and just then just being around the house, like I said, if I could do the most creative stuff I wanted to do, I got to do a lot of that. But on the same hand, it wasn't about like me thinking I was some big time dude in my mind. It was more of like, oh man, like, hey, I could put that air conditioner into the treehouse. Oh yeah, that's broke over there. Hey, I could paint the studio. And so I did a lot of handyman stuff for him. And even I never made our relationship to anyone ever seem like anything other than what it was. Like
Yeah.
I'd always say, even if you could call him, he would say, "That's my worker."
Got it right.
You know, so I was his worker. I'm around, like I said, on guys that are like street guys, they're not like, oh wow, that's a neon artist. They're like, that's the white boy that does my lights.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
For sure.
an artist to them is going to be someone that's like with music,
Paint, yeah.
you know, or even paint, or
Yeah.
like you said, with painting.
Yeah.
And he's got a ton of that, like everybody. And that's another thing. To sell him art to me was like, blow my mind, because everybody gives him art.
Mm-hmm.
Like this dude could have a gallery of like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of paintings that everybody, you know, it's an honor, like I said, to be able to do that. So after, you know, at that time, you know, I left, and then Sauce Walker comes on the internet,
Sauce,
and he's like,
you hooked
know,
up with Sauce, man. How that went? How'd it go?
I mean, it was really cool. And I like to tell you, like, anytime you're doing something, if you really got a talent, you know, you're going to get pulled. There's different levels. You're going to get pulled in with people, and, you know, they want to make you the best kept secret.
For sure.
So, because they don't want everybody to be able to, you know, have, or maybe they will turn you on to something like, you know, everybody I work with is great. I'm just saying that at that time, I always felt like, you know, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm seeing it, but then it was really like the thing that I learned. Man, I tell this to everybody: you got to make yourself a boss.
No, for sure.
If you're waiting, you're talented, and you're waiting for someone to come along. Ain't nobody coming, bro. And so even though you're working with this stuff, like it depends. Like you got the same access to social media they got.
Yep.
YouTube, all that. It's what you do with it. It's how you marketing.
No, for sure.
And that. So, but I always been genuine. So all those things I did in Dallas. I mean, I met a lot of people, or there'd be people like, man, they really love what I do. Or even if they didn't meet me, they got to see my stuff. I always posted everything. So when Sauce came online, it was really like Dallas that was really the first time where it was like, you know, kind of like an eye-opening moment for me, because all the people in Dallas started flooding his comments.
Oh, really?
And so like the next morning I woke up and there's Sauce Walker in my inbox. And so then we're like having a conversation. And by that night I was on his couch. And the funny thing about that was like, he'll even, like, that's something funny that he'll even say. He was like, bro, man, you was on my couch before I even knew.
Yeah.
But then the other thing that I know is, you know, fortune favors the bold. So you got to jump out. So at that time, he was like, yeah, man, let's get something going. He was opening up a studio with TSF.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you could be all business and be like, well, I only stay at nice hotels. I only do this, but all that costs money.
Goddamn right.
And so it doesn't matter, like, and usually I would say, like, you know, whether it's like, you know, Boosie's balling, he's been making crazy money since that dude was 15 years old. Sauce, obviously he got money.
Got money.
I got money now, and
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, when you have to come from nothing to something, you know, you're going to be generous in certain areas, but also you're not just handing out money. So you want to, you know, like, I don't even like spending money. Like, who likes giving away money?
Nah, don't nobody like giving away money.
And even like, I think that's just all the way up.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a different relationship with it. So when you think about, working with, just because someone's got a lot of money, you should never put your eyes on their money. You need to give them the best service that you can, you know?
Yeah,
and
sure.
so with Sauce, like, he was like, here, I'm gonna put you with Miss Megan. And then I knew they wanted to do it, and everything's about timing. So I'm like, I said, all right, I said, Miss Megan, like, talking to her, I said, I'm gonna come to Houston. And so I showed up and walked into TSF. Patience is another good thing. Like,
always.
I'm there waiting.
Always.
Finally, you know, Sauce came in, and then that's why I'm at Big Who, the other guys, and they were like, hey, you know, you can come, you know, we're gonna get all this bit up. You can come crash at the house.
For sure.
So Sauce had already left. So then that's what I said. I was like sleeping on Sauce's couch.
Yeah.
And then, you know, later on the next morning, he's like, oh, well, the Neon Man's right here, you know, and he was smiling. I'm like, yeah, we're going to get in. And so he's telling me what he wants. Now, this is something true. At that time, he was wanting the ceiling removed, wanted to drop the ceiling. We hadn't figured out about the lights yet.
You want the ceiling removed.
Like, he had a drop ceiling, right?
Yeah.
And so for this hallway, what they'd envisioned was like having this whole ceiling, like opening it up.
Okay.
To where it was more like an open plan.
For
So,
sure.
and then also he's busy, you know, so he's
Yeah.
like in and out, he's traveling. And so I'm there, like, you know, that's where I came up with the drip lights,
Yeah.
the neon drip.
Yeah.
So if
for
you
sure.
see that, it's all like dripping
Yeah.
out of lights. But at first I'm there. So we're working that stuff out. But then I got this time gap. So like, I'm not meeting up with him till the following day. And so even though we ain't got a deal yet, you know, I already know how to take all that ceiling out. So I just went to work, you know.
Just
So
did it.
I got, yeah, I gutted it like over that whole day. By the next day, you know, I'm done moving water lines. I'm like moving electrical lines, the phone lines. Like I got all that done. So when he comes back now, I'm ready to sell him the job. And he comes in and he's like, bro, like what you doing, man? You already, I said, yeah, you said you wanted it down. He said, but we didn't make a deal yet. I said, yeah, about that. I was like, you know, I got that deal ready to go over it. I said, and you know, on this, if you don't even want to buy the deal from me, like Merry Christmas, bro.
No, for sure.
Like, you know, I just saved you a whole lot of money. And then he was like, man, you done did that. Now you got it. Like, what do you got cooking over here? So ended up going over the deal. He got the deal. And so the first thing I was just doing out of love. And then, and that was a cool, like I said, I met, you know, Miss Megan's my manager now. And so I met Miss Megan. And then the cool thing, so I want to tell you guys this story because it's like, you know, so it's like people that are artists, if you're a rapper, you want to come up with a name.
Not for sure.
If you're a painter, you know, there's like Banksy. They always want to come up with a name. I never was good. Like I didn't grow up in families that were like, hey, you know, I didn't have no nickname.
Yeah.
You know, never had one. Even as I was getting into the lights, looking at the artistry side of it, I was wanting to come up with a cool name.
Yeah.
I couldn't come up with anything. So I was like, well, I make neon lights and I'm an artist. So on Instagram, you can find me at Neon Light Artist. And that was like, okay, it's generic, but it is what it is. So then,
kind of plain, my boy.
Yeah, it is.
Ain't no flavor on there.
However, no sauce, no
no
flavor,
sauce, no drip, no nothing, man.
But then as I'm going along, people's like, it is working far as the fact people's like, okay, that's the dude that does the neon lights.
Neon lights, yeah.
And then where I was in Arkansas, it was not really like I said, I wasn't around people that was doing nicknames to this and that. Then I'm down like in Atlanta, so I'm in Atlanta, and then the guys are seeing my Instagram. They started calling me Neon. So I was like, hey, Neon. I'm like, that's kind of cool, you know? So I'm like going by that. So they call me Neon. And then by the time I get over to Sauces, and now you got to think like you're seeing, I don't know, 12 years of work from 7-foot tall pyramids to all these crazy things that I've done to now it's like, hey, you know, when I could do something real cool, but when you did it for Boosie, I mean, just that alone makes it even cooler, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so he's like looking at my stuff and he's like, bro, you hard, man. He was like, you're Neon Jesus. And so the whole time I'm there, he's like, man, my boy Neon Jesus.
Nah, for sure.
And now everyone over there's calling me Neon Jesus. And so
I think it kind of matched because your background too, though.
Yeah,
that's
I
what
mean,
you
and even
came
like,
from.
you know,
come on, man, that's hard.
we got
That's hard.
my boy Ball did that.
For
So
sure.
you know, I'm like after I left there, and then one day that thing clicked in my head, you know, I'm going with it.
Man, it's
And then
hard.
I even thought about it this. I was like, man, a legend gave me the name.
That's hard.
So that's
man.
even cool on the fact
within
that
itself.
within itself. And
Nah,
then I
for
really do, you know, even Sauce, like he made a whole, like when you really get down in Houston, man, these people love that man.
No, I know it.
And we're talking about young guys that
He
they
a
were like,
legend.
he made a whole thing, like a whole lane, you
Nah,
know,
for sure.
off of the Sauce.
No, it is. And he goes out and reach other. Man, that man who got Asian way in China somewhere. Sauce be working.
Oh,
And
yeah,
for-
Sauce White, he's cool.
Man, what?
Yeah, I
Man,
like
he
Sauce.
got so many people, bro. That man be working, bro, and I don't think he get the credit he deserves. You know what I'm saying? Because he's bigger than what he's bigger than
And
what
TSF to me, they're like down all they're in Memphis. They're
Man,
in,
come on, man.
he's
They
got
everywhere,
artists.
bro. They everywhere. TSF is everywhere. Man, come on, man. Stop playing. Like, they are. You done work with some legends, bro. Like, it's like, that's not even your roof. That's not the cap. You came all the way to, you have, tell them. I don't want to tell them. You tell them. You have TV shows reaching out now. People.
Well, that's another thing. Like whenever you're starting out, you know, like you got a dream, you got a passion. Some people follow that, some people don't. Like you could have been, like it could be a guy that would be the greatest rapper in the world, but instead he's a dentist.
Type shit.
You know, because he was like, well, this is, or you know, and you got to do different things. Not everyone's willing. Like if you really want to jump in on your dream, you know, it can cost you a lot of people. It can cost you. Sometimes you're gonna be alone for a while. You know. Obviously, if you're not pulling in money, you know, that's even going to be harder. So the stuff like jumping out for me was just like saying, hey, I knew what I wanted to do. I got people I could bring on this show that I was telling them when they was laughing in Arkansas. I got people, and it was always two things like, you know, I believe in God, I got a lot of faith, and then I know I'm somebody. I've got a talent. It's gonna get me somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
So and going and jumping and running forward with that.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, so I run forward with that, and you know, until you could have really like in music, I see it all the time where it's like I'll hear a song, even if it's a local artist, I'm like that song's hard, and so but until it's popular to support you, you know, and that can lead to depression.
Yeah,
Meaning, like I did some of the hardest work, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going. This is it, you know. And every artist is like, oh yeah, I'm blowing up. Like this is too cold. Like this is it. And then you do it. And then people ain't really excited.
getting
And
no
maybe
love.
it really was that dope.
Yeah.
Maybe you was around a bunch of haters.
Yeah, for sure.
Or whatever. So
Yeah,
all
for
that
sure.
like hit your self-esteem. You know? And then so the whole time, like, I'm always doing my thing, bro. I'm always doing my thing. And one of the things I learned now, like where we're getting to the question was like, you know, networking's cool. You know, if you got a tire shop and you want to get the word out, go network everywhere. And it's always good, even in the music industry, it's good to network. But even bigger than that is you got to create, bro. Because the creating and you sticking to, like I said, you're going to make yourself a boss. But what do? You keep doing it. All it takes is one person to notice it. So, which makes it hard because everything costs money. So you're going to have to like go get you 6 jobs, like go do whatever you got to do, hustle or whatever to get the money to keep moving forward. Or you're going to bring people around you in and help them. You can get there faster with, like-minded, like one of the Jalen, he's the dojo. You know, when I first met him doing photography, we linked up, and then later on when I wanted to start shooting stuff, Media's Got Power, he's helping me with that. And I done brought him to Atlanta with me. He's done been at Boosie's house, stayed over there. So there's guys that I started out with that it was all love, and even now that I'm bringing them on television because they're part of my story.